Okay, perfect. So my topic today, taking from whenever teammate emailed us at 12:30 today, and excitingly, with a reinforcement letter by Dr. Molina over here, we were each given this great opportunity to lead our very own seminar in a way for 15 minutes. And the topic that I came up with, ironically, was neuroscience and arts at UTD's ATEC program and transforming art into memory. So for a little bit of the context, I'm going to give some definitions real quick, and because it'll get a little technical. So a prefrontal cortex is the main part of the brain that controls higher order cognitive functions, including decision making, planning, and personality. While a hippocampus is kind of like the She-Horp-shaped brain function or structure, and it plays a central role in learning, memory, and emotions. And its primary is to convert short-term memories into long-term ones, and also store and organize them for retrieval. So to start off, the ATEC program at the University of Texas Dallas stands at almost, I'm taking a little bit from their website, stands at the crossroad of art, technology, and neuroscience. Believe it or not, it offers students a unique opportunity to not only just explore the intersections of creative expression of the brain, but also of art in itself. And at the heart of this, it explores the idea of how art can be transferred into memory, which is this process that is both cognitive and an emotional phenomenon. And by merging both of these neuroscience and artistic practices, we can understand how different interactions shape our experiences, perception, and retention of artistic work through memory. This is going to start us off with the neuroscience of memory and art. First off, as we all know, memory is a key component of how us as humans relate to certain pieces of artwork. Neuroscience research shows that memory is not just a single piece, but it's a unified process of this network that's an interconnected system that involves different brain regions, like the hippocampus, which transforms and plays a crucial part in transforming memories to create new ones. While in contrast, the prefrontal cortex, which involves encoding memories and decision-making processes, is also responsible for the emotional response. And when it comes to art, particularly in the context of the ATEC program, the brain doesn't simply store an artwork in a passive manner. Instead, it processes the emotion, sensory, and cognitive aspect of the art and turns it into this almost experiential memory, where you're experiencing the art for itself firsthand. And by doing this, instead, it processes the emotional, sensory, and cognitive aspects of the art, once again, turning it into this combination of emotions and associations and these sensory impressions that shape the way we remember and engage with art long after the initial encounter. So this prefrontal cortex, as well as this hippocampus, is storing the way that we see and visualize the art itself. And by doing that, we're able to take the artwork that we see at a glance or look at for a minute, and we're able to store it inside of our minds and then transform that into other pieces of artwork that we have, whether if we know it or not. The next part is art as memory trigger. Art has some unique abilities to trigger memory, evoking past experience and emotions. Neuroscience studies have shown that memory is deeply connected to emotional, particularly through the hippocampus and the Emilie gland, which essentially is responsible for the emotional response. When we experience something that is emotionally significant, the brain creates stronger, more vivid memories. This is why a piece of art can evoke strong emotional reactions, taking us back to a particular moment or feeling. And in the context of UTD and ATEC, this emotional engagement is key to the way that art is created and experienced through the use of not only technology, but the students that design the artwork itself. It's visually engaging, but it's also emotionally stimulating, leading to the memories that are deeply ingrained in viewers' minds, such as if one day you're passing by a cafe, you see a artwork that is vividly memorable to your time at UTD, it'll take you back to that exact time that you then saw that artwork. And for instance, immersive digital art experiences also employ sound, light, and motion to create environments that stimulate multiple sensory pathways in the brain. These experiences are also designed to impact the sensory cortex, which process light, sound, and touch, the limbic system, which is involved in higher cognitive functions, and the stimulation of regional, which creates different associations for remembering. One of my last things is the art in the brain's memory system. The creation and perception of art also engage a range of brain systems that are integral to memory formation when creating art. Once again, the prefrontal cortex comes into play with helping artists plan and execute their ideas. At the same time, regions such as temporal lobes, which are responsible for memory and auditory processing, and the parietal lobes, which are probably going to be right above your ear, they're involved in spiritual processing, so little bits and pieces rather than a whole lobe. And these also contribute to different artistic processes. These areas are responsible for mental imagery, emotional content, and the sensory experience for artists integrating into their work. And finally, in conclusion, by incorporating different therapeutic aspects of art, the ATEC program offers different students opportunities to create and explore their own artistic abilities, which is why UTD Dallas has been ranked, from what I've done my research on, as one of the better art schools in Texas, because they allow for their students to have more experimental.
Which school?
UTD.
Oh.
They allow them to have different artistic creations that can be used for tool for memory enhancements, whether if it's through traditional media or digital art. The brain engagement with artistic experience can help maintain and improve and even restore memory function in specific context. What I want to leave y'all with is, in what ways can art be used as a tool to improve or enhance memory in everyday life? And as we continue to explore the relationship between art and memory, we should consider how experiences can not only shape our personal recollections, but also how we engage with the world itself. That's it.
He's the only one who gave a speech.
I didn't know how to put it into PowerPoint.
No. Okay, so how do we give him feedback?
What do you need?
Yeah, in what ways can art be used as a tool to improve or enhance memory in everyday life? So how can we use art as a tool to improve our own cognitive or our own cognitive memory, essentially? So, for example, can we use art as a tool for Alzheimer's?
You have this written down?
I do, yes.
I'd love to get a copy of it.
Okay. We can use it in the form of Alzheimer's or dementia, for example. Someone can associate that piece of artwork with their, I forget which lobe it is, let's see. With their temporal lobes, which is responsible for memory and auditory processing. If it's like an exhibit where there's sound, you can play that same exact sound and it might be able to take the person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've given Belinda the final comment.
I have, yeah.
Cooper, do you have a question for him?
Not really.
Dina.
I think this is a very comprehensive summary for us who are amateur about memories.
That's why I wanted to try to give like definitions prior so that I can.
Flavia?
I I think that neuroscience is really complex, and the subjects that you're trying to get associate is for themselves difficult to understand, and put it together is a really difficult word. So good job.
I tried to
Okay,
not go too complicated as far as for.
I'm gonna
Good
play a
job.
game. I'm gonna ask Cooper to share with us the AI software he likes to use. Can you share it with us on the screen?
It's just ChatGPT.
Okay, share ChatGPT with us.
Okay.
Okay. Have you ever heard the term, Ryan, type what does, and then start a word with N, E, U, R, O, A, E, S, T, H, I, aesthetics, yeah, CS.
That's
Okay, aesthetics. Have you heard that word? What does it mean?
I have it actually in my thing.
Oh, shit. Okay, mean, and then tell us. Neuroaesthetics is the study of how the brain processes and responds to art, beauty, and aesthetic experience.
There.
Can you amplify?
Can you now ask it who invented this area of study? And he's a very good friend of mine that I can put in touch with you.
Really?
Semer Zeki.
Huh.
He's in London, and I'm still in touch with him. And I'm not joking. He is the foundational researcher on what you're talking about, neuroscience of and UX of user experience. But now I want you to ask it, has anybody discussed the concept of neuroanesthetic?
Neuroanesthetic?
Yeah, neuroanesthetic.
Has anyone discussed?
Discuss the concept of neuroanesthetic. Anesthetic. I propose, Ryan, that the book we're working on be called Neuroanesthetics: How the Modern World Dumbs Down the Way the Brain Responds to Art.
I've never heard neuroanesthetic.
Nor have I, nor is it.
Oh, it's you just made it up.
We just made up the word.
Okay, I was about to say that neuroanesthetics is brand new to me.
No, it's brand new to AI. No, we could call the book Neuroanesthetics and moan and groan about how AI is what was everybody's is making art inauthentic and it loses its aura.
You simultaneously just combined me, Belinda's, and Flavia's thing all together.
Well, that's called collective consciousness. What is the science of collective consciousness called? And what is it? Yeah. The answer is nobody uses it. Neuroscience in the brain's network. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay, so the person who's a world expert on this is a professor at the University of Houston in brain science. His name is,
Whoa, there was a clock up there a little while ago. Where'd it go? No, I'm not tripping. Where'd it go?
you're tripping.
Oh, I'm not.
I stood up and took it down because it had the wrong time on it.
During this class period, right?
Yes. I walked up there, took it down, and corrected the time.
Isn't that funny how I realized that? Because
Well, I think you have memory problems.
well, no, because there's so much stuff. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Okay, I think we're done with the student lectures.
Shall we take a break?
A break.
Everybody, are you
I want to
tired?
go home and go to bed.
Okay.
We're allowed to change seats, but if you need to go to the bathroom, do it. But I'm going to ask you to pull up my article.
Yeah, this
Okay,
this pink. I can sure.
and so I'm going to have to revise my presentation because indeed UT Dallas was founded by a group of white men.
Yeah.
No women. The first woman student was 40 years after the founding of the university.
Really?
No African men. British cricket players. Okay, can you put it on to present? Okay, thank you. So if I can just take over the. So since you've all looked at the paper, we've published this, but I got deeply criticized by my colleagues for it because I didn't tell the true history. And so that's why it became an anecdotal history. I was the lead author. Robert Stern did a lot of the research, and Frederick Turner has been in the university since 1970, I think. I forget when he arrived here. And okay, how do I advance it? Oh, there we go. It says slide 2, okay. So when the university was founded, it was only science and technology with no Department of Arts or Humanities. And that lasted for decades. And so how did the School of ATEC and the School of Arts, Humanities, and Technology happen? Well, nobody had a plan. It just happened. And so we investigated and discovered. So the origins was in 1969 when Texas Instruments owned this land. And they had a lot of scientists and engineers in the Texas Instruments Company who needed to get better educated, and there were no universities in Dallas. Well, maybe SMU existed. They only teach the arts and humanities, not STEM fields. And so it was founded with a focus on STEM. In the 1990s, there was this first establishment of the arts and humanities, and I'll explain that it was a refugee school. Okay. I would love to tell you some dirty stories, but I won't yet. The ATEC program didn't happen until the 2000s because Tom Linehan came here from Texas A&M and set up a stupid technology program, the first in Texas. And then somehow it started evolving and growing. And in the 2020s, there was an innovation hub that was punctured by the pandemic. Here is the first woman to earn a PhD at UT Dallas in 1977. What?
Damn.
It took that long? And this was taken before she got the PhD. But no, it was a male campus for the first 10 years. And one of the wonderful anecdotes is this tower that everybody has seen on campus. Originally, UT Dallas was a television university. So the Texas Instruments employees stayed at home and watched the courses on television that were broadcast from that antenna. Beginning in 1967. Then in 1995, they stopped doing television teaching because the internet happened in 1992 and it was cheaper than television. I forget what that second picture is. Oh yeah, that's now where that field used to be, the art barn, which you can see there. You can see the antenna behind the new physics building. The initial vision was UT Dallas integrated the liberal arts, showing foresight in violent creativity and culture. It expanded and grew, but unfortunately, it was a refugee center
So Texas Instruments created this
campus.
campus.
It was originally called the University of the Southwest, no, the
Southwest
Southwest Institute or something.
graduate
Institute, and it didn't become part of the UT system till the 1990s.
Really? Okay.
And they donated the land, and the founders of TI, their names are all over the buildings. But it was a refugee center.
A
So
when you mean a refugee center, do you mean for like?
people who couldn't get a job at any other university
Gotcha.
got a job at UT Dallas.
Really? So like professors?
Yeah.
Huh.
And one example is Bonnie Pittman. She was the director of the Dallas Museum of Art. She got so sick she couldn't drive to work every day. So the Board of Trustees of the Dallas Museum of Art fired her. And UT Dallas said, "Oh, you can come and teach a couple of days a week at UT Dallas and stay at home in bed the other days." So she was welcomed as a refugee professor.
How long did you work here for?
But she still works at the Center for Brain Health.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. She became the world's expert on art and medicine,
Wow.
and she teaches medical students how to observe and notice what's wrong with someone by just talking to them,
Wow.
looking at them. "Oh, you have jaundice. I'm going to give you this pill." No, I'm not kidding. What was surprising when I first got here, ATEC had all these collaborative agreements with the local gaming companies. Dallas was a hub for computer gaming companies. They've all moved to California since. But ATEC today almost doesn't have any formal connections. They used to have internships every summer for ATEC students. UX UI was a paid job. So yeah, no, I'm a little bit critical of the current school. So maybe UTD could let new things emerge, like recruiting professors from Africa, Belinda. What? How would they get a visa today?
A work visa.
A work visa. Well, this weekend I went to an amazing wedding of a Nigerian student. His name is Damien Eniosha. He's doing a PhD on how ideas migrated along the slave routes between Africa and America. And a lot of those medical practices are still being practiced in New York and now in Houston. And Damien I would make him a professor in this university He and his wife are from Nigeria. So maybe there is hope in emergence that something unexpected might happen. Well, and my colleagues, the way that I tell this story sounds critical, but I think UT Dallas has a history of welcoming people that were excluded in other places.
They do.
The Holocaust Center, gay professors, but not African professors yet, Melinda, so let's work on that. A lot of Indian professors at the moment.
Yeah.
Although some of the Chinese professors that I used to work with have moved back to China because of the hostile climate in this country. You know who I'm talking about? Your professor. What was his name?
Mr. Kang Chang.
And he moved to Hong Kong.
Well, he moved to southern China, but it's a Hong Kong university, has a branch over
Yeah.
there.
So he felt so victimized as a Chinese professor.
Was it because of COVID, probably? Or
It was phase 1 of Donald Duck. Yeah, it was COVID. It's a Chinese infection.
yeah.
So no, he just moved back to China. He was on Tina's PhD committee. But we live in the real world, and everybody likes these polite history books.
Yeah, they do. That history nowadays, it probably what isn't. It's funny. History nowadays is told. Every year it's told less and less. Let's say whenever my dad grew up, they were taught about the Vietnam War and the World War II in such a different way how we were taught it. Now it's just kind of become like a thing of the distant past. They cover it a little bit, but
Okay, and I just want to finish, and I'm going to propose we conclude this evening. Did you have something to present?
Oh, no, I don't, but can you show the article to everybody? There are a lot of great content there if you want to.
Okay, can you show the article? Because then I have a final piece of news.
I just want to let everyone know this is a really wonderful article. It's worth reading since we're all students here, knowing the history and where we were at and how it evolved. There's a lot of new institutes, different to what Dr. Melinda mentioned, like the Center of Translation, Learning Science, and all these medical center. These are all in the articles, and a lot of leaders who started what, and that really gave you a timeline. And for the future, how you position your study, your research, your paper publication, and your career, and it all be very helpful. And also, if we cannot think about in the future how we emerge from this point onward.
How do we make something happen?
Yeah.
From volleyball.
I was thinking as you were going over the history of UTD and different things of the emergence, I thought of a question: why should we care?
Why should we care about what?
The history of UTD, the history in general. What aspects will it allow for us to have in the future? Is it a teaching aspect, or
No, I think.
obviously I care. I'm just wondering-
I think we need to create hope, especially in this period of Donald Duck. That there's so much anxiety about the future of universities, and I think if small groups of people like us just keep talking to each other and start building the future. I don't know. I'm an ambient optimist, a local optimist. I won't go into another article I just finished writing for the book we're going to publish. But, okay, so I do have a final topic. I think she's shown the article. So the article has not quite been published yet. I think it's on our website, right? No, it's on my private website.
Can you move to the very end? That probably help answer a question that Ryan raised. So, yeah, go to the about me picture. So that was the end of the article. So that's for future. So if we can think about where learning emergence, how do we tie the emergence concept into the emerging university? Because we are the part of the people who can make the audits, make the changes.
Yeah.
That's what Belinda just challenged us. Who made the change? Who in fact or affect the changes emerging?
Did I really write this?
Right, was part of it. And maybe you
I
can
think
have
I must be
assignment.
schizophrenic. What?
Maybe you can have assignment to the class and thinking about how we want the university emerge.
To change,
Yeah.
yeah.
To change.
And you know, Belinda's thing is a starting point. Okay, so I want to just conclude, and I forget whether I mentioned this last time. Did I talk about Virtual Africa last time?
Last time I don't remember you said.
No, you didn't.
Okay, so please can you share this? And Belinda, I will email this to you, I'm sorry. But we're pleased to announce the collaboration with Dr. Yvon Tina in China, who is restarting, he's gotten funding for a project they'll call Virtual Africa in Asia. It turns out in the last 30 years, there are now 300,000 students from Africa in Asian universities, including over 100,000 in China and India, and you can just go over it. And so he's trying to create a podcast platform to cross-connect these virtual Africans in Asia. And part of his discussion is the role of diasporas, because in human history, we tend to think of the nation state as the builder of civilization. No, often it was people who moved around that created the world we live in, diasporas. And ideas migrate with drugs on the drug trade, on the sex and trade drug route. And so we're going to be developing this new podcast platform, and I've just signed an agreement between the Art Science Lab, and I'd love to include you, Belinda, in the project. Yeah, if you Google, okay, can you just Google Virtual Africa and share it with us? Oh, someone has stole the name. Do Virtual Africa Yvon Tina. Okay, no, women curators. That's a really good one. So he did this amazing project where he recorded podcasts with, I think, 37 women curators in Africa with their points of view. Anyway, so I just wanted to put this on the menu. I've signed a new agreement with Yvon Tina. He's at a university in Shanghai. It's a British university. He's paid in English pounds, not in whatever it's called in China. What is the currency called?
RMB,
RMB.
yuan.
Okay, so I think we're done for today. The main thing now is at the end of the semester, we're going to sign a letter of intent to collaborate with each of you to keep connected after the end of the semester and help you do the most amazing graduate diploma in human history. No, I mean, you're paying so much tuition, it's not fun. You're going to take other classes, you've got to do qualifiers, blah, 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 blah. But let's keep collaborating. Okay.
Thank you, Belinda. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, Ryan.